Welcome to the Lecole Cycling Club. I'm Chris OP and this is episode number 3 of Ask the Coach. Today I'm answering your questions on whether you can build power and lose weight at the same time, how often can you ride 100 miles without it negatively affecting your fitness, and finally, electrolytes as fluid. Question number 1 this week comes from a Zwift Lecole Sessions regular, Alex. Alex would like to know, is it possible to improve your power output whilst reducing your body weight? By that he means trying to improve his body composition, losing a little bit of body fat and increase something like his aerobic capacity, his FTP. When it comes to that sort of aspect of your fitness, Alex, yes, for your aerobic capacity, your FTP, your endurance values, you can continue to improve those whilst in a calorie deficit. If we're going to talk about sprint numbers on the other hand, then it's going to be very hard to do that, because in order to improve your sprint numbers, you're going to need to increase your lean body mass. And we all know, or we should know, that it's very difficult to improve your lean body mass when in a calorie deficit, which is what you'll need to do in order to lose body fat. One of the best approaches you could take though, is to periodize your training. Imagine you have an event in 12 weeks time. Dedicate that first 8 weeks to becoming the strongest, most powerful athlete that you can. Include some endurance rides, include the correct types of intervals that you need specific to the event that you're targeting. I know for a fact that you're targeting an endurance event, in which case you're going to need a good aerobic output, so those 20-minute efforts, the 30-minute efforts, riding at a high sustained power for a longer period of time to help increase the force that you're able to exert on the bike, but also to improve your efficiency on the bike and your muscular endurance. Then once you've gotten through that 8-week period, you could do 2 to 3 different training cycles within that 8-week period. Then it's a good time to start thinking about losing that body fat that you were talking about, improving your body composition slightly. When you're going to do that though, allow a good 10 days before your endurance event in order to make sure that you're not starting that event in a depleted state. You want to try and focus for 2 to 3 weeks, perhaps, on losing a little bit of body fat by reducing your calorie intake, keeping an eye on your calorie outgoings as well, so that you're not going too far into a depleted state and therefore weakening your immune system by too much ahead of your target event. Then in that final week, you need to start reintroducing plenty of fuel, because it's going to be a very hard event on your body. I know that last year it was around 6 days of maximum exertion. When I say maximum exertion, it's 6 days non-stop basically, in Alex's case, which is quite a strain. Most of us won't be putting our bodies through this. For anyone else out there that is looking to try and lose a little bit of body weight and increase their FTP, one of the best things that you can do is to keep a really strict food diary. There are plenty of really good apps out there which will help you track your calorie intake, and you can help measure this and calculate it against your calorie outgoings as well. The best way is to reduce your calorie intake ever so slightly over a prolonged period of time in order not to shock your body. Whatever you do, you need to be consistent with it and you need to be careful with it. It's very much trial and error process. Many of us will either overestimate our calorie intake or underestimate our calorie intake by as much as 15 to 20% quite regularly. Therefore, using a food diary to regulate your calories when trying to lose weight is one of the most effective measures. Alex, good luck with your event, good luck with the training. Remember, try and periodize strength building, increased aerobic output, and then the leaning up phase towards the end. Next up, we have a really good question from Newton over on YouTube. He wants to know, how often is it okay to ride 100 miles? Newton started cycling just 6 months ago. On the whole, he averages around 3 rides each week, but on a Sunday has been making an effort to ride 100 miles and 6,000 feet of climbing. That's over 160 kilometers and around 2,000 meters of climbing regularly. He wants to know, is this too much for his system? Will he eventually burn out and struggle to recover? Well, Newton, one of the best ways to gauge how you're recovering from that 100-mile ride is how you're feeling on the Monday, on the Tuesday, and even on the Wednesday. If you're feeling lethargic on the Monday, that's completely normal, and even on the Tuesday. But if it's starting to linger into the Wednesday and perhaps the Thursday, then you'll know that it's having an accumulative effect on your body and that you're not recovering from that effort as well as you perhaps could be. I would recommend actually once a month having a weekend off from doing that 100-mile ride. Try something shorter and sharper by all means, but you don't need to do a 100-mile ride every single week of the month. One of the best ways to approach your training is to use a monthly cycle. So you do 3 weeks where you progressively build in volume or in intensity, and then on that 4th week you have an adaptation week where you allow your body to recover a little bit more than normal. So maybe you only ride 2 or 3 times in that week instead of the 4 to 5 times that you perhaps normally ride. I know you said you only ride 3 times each week. Keep these rides short on that recovery week and your body will recover well. It will enable you to adapt and become stronger. We only improve when we recover, and therefore it's always important to allow time for recovery. And we actually have a video on recovery online already. Keep your duration between 30 and 90 minutes, but intensity is key here. Underneath 55% of your threshold power, your FTP, or 68% of your lactate threshold heart rate. But by all means, never exceed that 1 to 2 on the perceived exertion scale. That's going to help you get more out of your upcoming workouts and help you recover from the training load you've put yourself under. Our third and final question this week is from Ollie in Cheshire. He wants to know, is it okay to drink just water on the bike, or would it be better to drink an electrolyte mix instead? Well, Ollie, that is a good question, and at this time of year, certainly in the Northern Hemisphere, it's probably quite a relevant question as well. As the temperature increases, the humidity is quite high, we're likely to be sweating that little bit more. Therefore, the emphasis should be placed on replacing some of those electrolytes on the bike with an electrolyte drink. These are designed specifically for our bodies to absorb them much more easily and readily than just water alone. If you are riding at a lower intensity outside and perhaps stopping at a cafe mid-ride, maybe eating food on the bike as well, then you probably don't need to worry too much about including an electrolyte drink in your bottles. If, however, you're riding at a higher intensity, meaning you're sweating more, or perhaps even you're indoors, then it will be beneficial to include an electrolyte drink whilst out on the bike. It's just going to make it that much easier for your body to perform at its optimum. Hopefully you found that useful on your next ride. That's it for episode 3 of Ask the Coach with the Lecole Cycling Club. If you've not already visited the LCCC section of the website, head over there now and do so. There are many features for you to browse through, including ride meetups, ride stories, and Ask the Coach. And there are even free 6-week training programs. If you do have a question for any of our resident experts, drop it in the comments box below, use the Ask the Coach feature, and we will bring you the answer in the next episode. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next one.